So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success story series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this morning, I'm delighted to have back with us Rachel Roche, who's owner at Roche Legal. So, Rachel, firstly, thank you for coming back and spending some time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, your business, what you do, how you help people, that would be wonderful.
Sure. So firstly, thank you, Chris, for having me back.
Very welcome.
Lots has changed since we spoke at the start of some months ago now.
Yes.
So I'm excited to tell you all about that. But essentially, Roche Legal is a private client law firm. So we deal with important milestones in people's lives, getting older,
Yes.
things like powers of attorney,
Yes.
sorting out your family, making sure you've got all your ducks in a row, really. We also have a
Yes.
niche in missing persons law, which can be interesting at times. And we have just launched a new brand. So I'll be delighted to talk to you a little bit more about that later.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's fascinating. You mentioned just there, you mentioned missing persons.
Yes.
So that is that finding them? Is that dealing with the fact that they are missing?
So missing persons law is two things essentially. It might
Yes.
be to do with getting a presumption of death when somebody's been missing for 7 years or more,
Yep.
or it might be getting a guardianship act order for somebody who's been missing for less time, but
Yes.
the family members, the loved ones, need some court authority to enable
Yep.
them to deal with the missing persons affairs. So it's a little bit like what might happen if someone loses capacity and the court needs to determine who's going to be in
Yes.
charge, but this person is missing. So slightly different
Fascinating.
circumstances, but similar sort of principles, really.
That's personally fascinating. I won't share that with you right now. I might chat with you afterwards. But yes,
No
that
problem.
that was something that happened a while ago. Brilliant. So I am obviously we spoke. I think it was best part of a year ago, sort of early this year, I think. And I'm keen to know what's changed for you since we last spoke.
Well, it's difficult to know where to start. We've continued to build, and I think I very likely talked to you a lot about processes. I love
Yes.
processes. We've been continuing to build and have almost finished all of the internal processes
Right.
now, which makes everybody's lives a lot easier.
Yep.
So everybody knows who does what by when. And I was saying to somebody earlier today, I'm sure one of my team are going to get that on a t-shirt for me at some point in the near future because I bang on about it all the time.
Brilliant.
But it is one of those things. I'm quite a organized person, I'd say, and it's nice when everyone knows, just as I said, who does what by when. So we're almost
Yes.
at a point where we've built everything. So
Yep.
everything from the office and business side to the production side, as we call it. Regular sisters might call that fee earning, but it's the
Yep.
service areas. How do we produce that work? How do we manage those clients' expectations? What are the timelines for things, and so on and so forth. So the workflows, the blueprints for
Great.
everything from answering the phone to paying in a check. Not that we get that many these days, and everything in between. So that's really
Wow.
exciting. And then, of course, it's just a matter of maintaining those processes as things change, as they invariably do, as businesses change size and different
Yes.
functions are required or not required, as the case may be. So that's been a passion project of mine for some time. So it'll be nice when it's just a matter of maintaining that rather than putting new
Yes.
systems in. But all of the team now are, it's like an internal Wikipedia, everyone can make changes. There's a central point of authorizing those changes and those new cards that go into the system. So we've always got one source of truth, if you like, and it's always checked and
Yes.
everything. So everything that's ticked green in that internal Wikipedia is the correct process to follow. But it'll be so nice, and I reckon we might have it done by the end of the year. Fingers crossed. So I
Brilliant.
can tick that huge project. It's probably taken about 5 years to complete, and then of course anyone coming into the business can literally look anything up. So we've had an onboarding program for a long time, which gives people a high level overview of exactly all of the areas of part of the business. But then going forward, it just becomes so much easier for everyone in the team. Really, I'm trying to make everybody's lives easier, both internally and externally with our clients.
Brilliant. It's something we do a lot of work with as business coaching with our clients because what we typically find actually is that you can get to a certain size of business with a few good people, sheer blood and guts. Just everyone working really hard. You're knowing each other. You can see,
100%.
and that's okay. But once you've hit the limit of the resources you have in the people, growing in the next stage is almost impossible without system mindset change fundamentally, but also the systems and processes of how.
Mm.
Otherwise, people like yourself are always continually having to tell people what to do next and how to do it. So
Yes, yeah, and it
goodness,
helps people with their cognitive load. You know, when I heard
yes,
that phrase for the first time over the last 12 months, I thought, oh my gosh, that's what it is. And contrary
yes,
to popular belief, I don't know everything myself, so I need to give it to the system and give it to the team so
brilliant,
they can remember it instead of me. Because it gets to a
absolutely,
point, doesn't there, where you just when I'm like, I'm sure I knew this at one point. I must have known this to get here, but I cannot remember. But I know I've written it down, so that
yes,
is the brain of the business now, and I can have a bit of cognitive breathing space
brilliant.
to do what I need to be doing. So it works, I think, for everybody. At least I hope it does. Well, I'm sure it does. You can see that in the business and in the people.
Yes,
So that's such a win, I think. You can tell I love process. I can talk about that all day, but let's move on to something else
brilliant.
because
No,
otherwise I'll get
but
stuck on it.
it is really brilliant because it is, as you said, the cognitive load. It's also great for the cognitive load of the whole team because I don't need to remember how to do it. I can go and check the system, so
Yes, yeah,
I
there's
can
no
then
exams
focus.
here. You can just look it up. As long as you know where to find something, you do not need to know or remember how to do it. You just need to remember where the answer is.
Brilliant, and that very one thing we talk about in coaching and what we do is the word phrase being present. I with the person
Mm,
you're speaking to, and that being not we're focusing on what they're saying, what they're talking about, not having to think about what am I going to do next, how do I do that, can I
mm.
remember the system, and having systems in place allows me to go. I can focus on what you're going to say right now because I know when I've done this, I've got a system I can look up the system and operate accordingly, if that makes sense. So I'm sure it's helping everybody in the team.
Yes, and especially nowadays with the huge amount of distractions
Yes,
that come in all the time, you know, that
yes,
zap even more of that cognitive load away from you. So yeah, I think for me, it's just about incrementally making things as easy as possible and keeping things maintained and adjusting processes. Because, you know, once they're done, that's not it forever.
yeah,
You need to keep them under review. Things change.
yes,
Um, you know, external processes might change that will impact how we deal with things internally, for instance.
yes,
So we have to just keep them under review. And the way our internal wiki works, if you like, is that I will get a notification when a card has expired. So I know to check to make sure it's still current and then tick it current and then it goes back in. So
brilliant,
it's a nice way of keeping everything up to date.
wonderful. So it's been, obviously you said it's been a passion project for best part of 5 years. So
I'd say so, yeah.
when you finally are able to tick it off, and I appreciate it will then develop, but you've said you've done the project. How are you going to celebrate?
That's a very good idea. I haven't even thought about that, as I'm sure most people say, because you don't, do you? You just crack on, you just get it done, and then you move on to the next thing. So maybe my way of celebrating is putting more stuff on the list. I don't know. But we do have a wine fridge now in the office.
Ah,
Um, One of the team requested that, so we have
excellent,
a party area downstairs. So
brilliant,
maybe there's scope for doing a little bit of something with the team at some point. We're doing an event on Friday actually, so that'll be fun. We've got some
brilliant.
of our hybrid team members coming in for a project with our fractional C-suite, and then there'll be a lunch and stuff. So yes, let's get something in the diary for
It's
making the best of the wine fridge when it's done.
brilliant. It is a feature I find of entrepreneurial people is we're always focusing on what's next
Yeah,
to do rather than what we've achieved.
yeah.
And it's a reason we always get every quarter when we do our sort of quarterly planning sessions, we make sure one of the elements of that is celebration, because if we don't actively put it as part of a process, a system, it doesn't
Mm,
it doesn't get done because we're always thinking about what's yet to do rather than what we have achieved. And
yeah, no,
for
I
me,
completely get that.
celebration builds resilience. It's like
Mm,
so when we're thinking, oh, it's yeah, I've done that. You've achieved this 5 year process. It's incredible. So good. I hope that celebration goes well. So obviously, amazing win. Alongside that, any particular challenges you were able or would like to share with us that you've had over that period of time?
I think, well, I don't know actually. Nothing in particular springs to mind. I think it's the
Cool.
usual day to day, you know, it's the ebbs and
Yep.
flows of dealing with things. Um, I can't think of anything in particular.
Good.
Um, but without probably repeating anything I said last time, but yeah, just the usual ebbs and flows and just
Yeah.
keeping momentum and, you know, on days where you feel like last week, for instance, by the end of the week, I was just thinking, oh my goodness me, there's so much to do. I'll never keep on top of it. But then this week, I'm absolutely fine again. So
Brilliant.
you just need to give yourself a bit of time sometimes. I know full well when I've gone down a hole, I need to just take a step back, go swimming or something, and then come back to it. And actually, it's fine, isn't it?
Brilliant. Brilliant.
And I always like that saying, you've survived 100% of the day so far. Your track record's pretty good. So it's all right.
Love it.
Really.
Absolutely love it. Yeah. And yeah, no, I think it's probably a good indication. I think one of the things I was told many years ago was the job of a business owner is to solve problems. That's
Yes.
until we have somebody else for which the problems to solve the problems. Therefore, if we don't like problems, then probably business ownership isn't the right thing. So once we get comfortable with that situation, life becomes a lot more easier. I find it's like,
Yes,
yeah,
and
okay,
I love solving problems.
brilliant.
Sometimes it takes a minute or two for me to work out how, and I think
Yes,
in that limbo, you've just got to know that it'll work. It always works out, doesn't it? But sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes it takes a bit of interesting thinking and
yes,
implementation, but there's always a way. There is always a way to
brilliant.
sort something out. And I say this to the team as well, because I want them to feel empowered to also,
Yes,
deal with things and for us to work very much as a team. And I think if there's one thing I can say certainly about the last 12 months is that we are such a collaborative team, that it just feels lovely here. So that's also a lovely win. As much as we have tricky situations to navigate. There's some awful things happening in the economy and in the world right now, but we are working beautifully as a team, which I really think is half the battle.
Wonderful. And well, let's take team as an issue. What are some of the key facets of a team is a reflection of its leaders? So what would you say are the facets of leadership or successful leadership in leading a great and building a great team?
I think I found that I've been a bit more myself over the last couple of years, but I think that comes with age and experience.
Yes.
And I like to think they just know, you're like, oh, that's Rachel, that's what she's, and here she is again on an organisation mission or whatever they say. I don't know what they say, who knows. But I think, and I don't like this word authentically or authentic self, but I suppose perhaps that is what it is in a way, like just, you can't have a completely different persona turning up to the office that you do in your usual life. I think that's a recipe for mental health problems, to be honest. But I think, but I think being comfortable to just be a bit more yourself in a leadership role can only come with that experience.
Yes.
There's no shortcut, I don't think, or that's what I've experienced anyway.
Yes.
So they can see, and I'll go to them if there's an issue and I'll say, what do you think about this? It's all just sort of very team. And I think that's how you get more done and how people feel also more empowered to make decisions themselves and to just keep things moving like a well-oiled machine,
Yes. Yeah, I think the authentic being authentic is key. It's giving us permission just to be us, as you rightly said, and accepting that comes with benefits and challenges. And and it's not being perfect. It's just saying, look, I'm not perfect. I am who I am. But if we can find a way to work together effectively, then teamwork really does create a high level of effectiveness and efficiency and productivity.
Yeah, and I think that also gives the team the permission to turn up as their true selves. Of course, that's what they we want to all get to know each other. We spend a lot of time together.
Yes.
So why not? Hence
Absolutely.
The wine fridge and the party area downstairs.
Absolutely brilliant. Love it. Yes, no, I never hear a wine fridge. I think we're on the right track.
That was somebody's probation review request. I think at the end I said, is there anything you would like? Most people ask for a training session or a new notepad, but I was like, okay, now I can get on board with this.
Absolutely. Well, I was trying to think what one of our clients used to have. They used to have, was it Chablis o'clock or something? It was the way they described it on a Friday. I can't remember exactly what it was.
I can neither confirm nor deny whether that happens here.
Okay, we'll move on swiftly. So, we were just thinking about looking back over this last sort of 10 months or so. What are some of the things you've learned from whether it's the successes, the challenges? What are some of the learnings you've had about growing the business to this next level?
I think I'm better at making decisions faster.
Yes,
so
great.
There have been decisions around functions that we need in the business or don't need. There have been other just decisions, like bigger decisions, where I might have in the past sort of sat on it a little bit longer. Whereas
Yes.
now I'm like, no, it's obvious. It's obvious what I need to know. And I think because I've been doing this, it's almost 12 years, you have to give yourself a bit of credit that you know when it's a time to make a decision, like a decision's been made, for instance. So I think it's being able to make decisions a little bit faster. That's not to say I haven't got huge room for improvement in that area and many others, but I think one of the things that springs to mind is that my decision making is faster, and I've noticed it, so it must be to a degree on the important stuff,
And yeah, absolutely. And one thing I picked up a lot is it's that ability to make decisions on the basis that and accept them. They won't all be correct.
Yes,
and that's okay. But the decision, the outcome, learning from it, and going through that circle again, the quicker we go through that process, the quicker we succeed.
Yes.
I think
and also remembering when you're making a decision, you can always change that decision, or reverse the decision. There might be other things that you need to deal with if you decide that that's the right thing to do later, but also you can only make a decision based on the information you have at that time, and there has to be a point where you say, I've got enough information, I have to make a decision, and then review it 3 months, 6 months down the line, and is it still working, is it still right, do we need to make some adjustments, do we need to completely reverse what we've done, who knows.
Absolutely.
But you can only move forward by making a strategic making decisions, whether they turn out to be good or bad. I think doing nothing is the worst thing you can do.
Absolutely. Funny enough, I think one of our organisational straplines is the biggest failure you can have is to do nothing. Something like that. I can't remember.
I think indecision sometimes is important, though, to notice as well, because indecision might mean actually there isn't a decision to be made.
Yes.
But most of the time, if you're thinking about making a decision, there is one to be made. You need to do it quicker than, I need to do it quicker than I might have done 5 years ago, for instance.
Absolutely. And I think one of the ways to help that speed up the processes is thinking about the impact of not making the decision. So it's saying, well, what if we don't make a decision, we stay where we are? What's going to happen? Well, that's not a negotiable opportunity. So we have to make a decision. And the thing I found, sorry, go.
No, I'm just musing over what you're saying, because I'm just thinking also with the composition of the team that we've got now, I do feel like we have more decisive people, and actually maybe that's because I'm more decisive.
Yes. We say life's a mirror.
So that's good. I want people to be empowered to make their own decisions and to decide this is what I'm going to do. Because I don't need to be involved in everything. So crack on, and that's good. People it's just get done. It's really positive. So maybe that is the key. Carry on making quicker decisions. So you mentioned, I think I mentioned last time, I love collecting quotes and sayings and stuff. You mentioned one about it's all about systems, which I given that will still be true for the future, but we're saying completion on systems. Do you have any new ones that you might either have already or you might adopt for the new year? Systems and processes.
Sorry, quotes. Quotes about business success, about achieving things.
I think you probably had all my favourites. So the who does what by when is one of the things I probably say 7 times a day. That you've survived 100 times, 100% of your
love that
so far, so your track record's all right, or something like that.
Yep.
Organisation is the key. I mean, that's an old one from back in the day. I don't use that one so much, but it's still true. So those are probably my top 3.
Love it. And in terms of learning and education, do you have any favourite books or podcasts you can recommend that whether it's on business, life, success in general?
I've got a huge list. I've just ordered the Lean Startup, actually, for a reason which I'll tell you about in a minute, because that was recommended to me in the last couple of weeks. So I've got that coming.
Great.
And there's a lady that I've seen a lot of on social media lately. She's ex-Secret Service or former Secret Service. Her name is Evie. And she is amazing. She does a masterclass with the BBC. I haven't got it yet, but I feel like I've absorbed so much of her stuff online. But she has some really sound advice. I think she's definitely worth looking up.
Brilliant. So Evie, could you spell that?
Evy.
EVY.
And she has a surname beginning with P. I think it's Greek. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Cool.
So I'll leave that one there.
But every Secret Service, I'm sure we'd find it. Brilliant.
Oh, you'll see her. She's got lovely long blonde hair. And she's awesome, very straight talking. Everything she says just completely makes total sense to me.
Brilliant. Thank you. I'll look that up myself. And speaking of learning, what would you say you've learned about yourself over this last year?
I think mainly just I've sped up, like I said, my decision making. So I think that's good. I can really pull it out of the bag when I need to as well. So with the additional workload that we've had with the new brand, that's been done in amongst everything else in the business. So you know, when you really want to get something done, you've got a hard deadline. You know, if we all work together, we can get it completed. And I think also just learning to take a step back when you need a breather as well, and just not feeling so guilty about that, because otherwise what do I do? Sit at the computer and stare because I've come to my saturation point. You know, in that point you need to walk off and do something that doesn't involve screens.
Absolutely.
And then come back to it, and then suddenly you're like a million miles an hour again. So you've got to take a step back to move forward sometimes, I think, and just realize that. And I think society is allowing for that a bit more as well, like it's more acceptable. And I think that does also help relieve the guilt of not being productive on a set day, even if it is a Saturday when you're not supposed to be massively productive anyway, or a Sunday. But obviously as business owners, we just want to get stuff done all the time. Every minute we want to be doing something productive. And it's a difficult habit to break, I think.
Yes, it is. I you know, second that. I think the challenge is accepting that now and again it's okay to take a break.
100%.
And yeah, but unfortunately we're sort of 24/7 thinking about what's next.
The next thing and the next thing.
But it's a very similar phrase of slow down to speed up. I love, which is, you know, literally slow down for a minute and then we will be able to speed up because we've probably got a better idea what's next.
Yeah.
I'm also keen to know, so in Actually Coach My Organisation, we have a definition of a true business, which is a commercial profitable enterprise that works without its owners.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that as a definition of a business?
I'm still working on it. I feel like that's definitely the definition. And I think I've always had this thought, well, I need to make myself redundant almost. You know, you need to keep. I mean, I've got my job description, I actually have one. It's only 2 paragraphs long, but it's something along the lines of, you know, I've done everything in the business, but eventually, you know, you delegate off and you eventually get to this point. I don't know why I'm doing a talk because we have quite a flat structure, but get to the point where you've done the stuff, you've passed it off to somebody else is now doing it. And then eventually what I want to be in a position of, and I don't think we're far off, is that I'm the strategic decision maker and the visionary and the entrepreneur. And then the operations and the production goes on without my needing to be in the factory or on the front line, however you want to put it.
Brilliant. And I would say a massive part of that is systemization and organization, which you've been in the center of.
Yeah, and we've loved it. We've built out a lot of our automated workflows. For instance, now we've got an in-house developer that we work on this every day. You know, there's always something to be done. So we really are getting there. I feel like we are ahead of the AI revolution. You know, all of the tech, we have all of that in place. We're using it all day, every day. In accordance with all, you know, our policies, because I've talked about operations and processes. Of course, we have policies for these things as well, because that's just the way my mind works.
Yep.
But we're certainly leveraging all of these tools that are available to us now.
Yes.
So we're able to do things faster, more accurately, and long may that continue. I mean, it can get a little bit overwhelming at times because, of course, I want to do everything now, but you've got to project plan everything, which we're better at. You know, I'll be like, no, that's for next quarter. You know, we've got to finish this, you know, and you've got to finish what you start. And then see how it works, get feedback, and then change it once you've given it time to bed in before moving on to the next thing or getting distracted with something else shiny.
Brilliant. And so what, you know, looking forward then, what does the future look like for you guys, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
I think we are going to have to keep evolving with AI and technology being so accessible and the expectations of the clients that we're seeing. I think there'll also be some important changes in the law coming through. So we need to keep on top of that for obvious reasons. if I can just also mention, this ties in really nicely to our new brand that we launched at
Please.
the start of the month called Pet Pact, which is an online solution for pet owners to ensure that their pets are taken care of in the event of death, incapacity, or relationship breakdown. So
Great.
I'm sure you've seen over the years articles in the press about, particularly when people split up and they argue over
Yes.
the dog and they spend lots of money. And I think, oh, hang on a minute, that seems like a bit of a waste of time. So
Brilliant.
let's put something together to
Yep.
help people not fall into that situation, and
Yes.
also to do our best to bring the law around pet ownership into today's age, because we're seeing with case law coming through both from here in New York, for instance, and in Canada, that judges are using language when they're talking about pets that's more akin to them being immediate family members rather
Yeah.
than, as they're treated in the law at the moment, as being items of property. So we're
Yes.
getting ahead of this with the new brand, and we launched our platform at the start of October. So we launched, I think it was on Friday the 3rd of October, and then on the 5th of October, Innovate UK flew me to Canada for the week to talk about it over there, and I go back in March. So we're on a bit of a journey with taking the new brand over across the pond, which
Fabulous.
is exciting. And I think we're in for a real treat of the next 6 months. So this brand is also really fun to work on because, you know, I'm a dog owner. I've got 2 cats. My co-founder, if you like, is my dog. I think my dog actually appeared on the last podcast when I spoke to you.
Yes.
So we're having a bit of fun about it. You know,
Brilliant.
it's keeping everyone amused. And we started with getting the word out just last week. So it's a lovely project to work on, and I think
One.
part of the strategy will be to lobby the government to bring the law around pets into the modern age.
Yes. Wonderful. And that's called Pet Pact.
Pet pact, because
Love
essentially
it.
it's a pact
Yes.
between you and your guardians, for instance your pet guardians, as to what would happen in the event that you can't look after your pet anymore.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And you know, it's that classic of let's think about it ahead of time, so we don't have to think it at the time, especially
No,
with things like split ups and divorces. It's right in the middle of everything, isn't it? If you've already thought about it and agreed it, then it becomes more straightforward. Fabulous. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for the update and congratulations on all those things you've achieved, and looking forward to the future with Pet Pact and the things that you're going to be working on.
thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And for anyone that's watching would like to get in touch with you, Roche Legal or Pet Pact, what are the best, easiest ways to make contact?
The best way is probably at the moment my Instagram account, which is I am Rachel underscore Roche. If you just give me a second, I will
Yep.
confirm that. Um, oh, yeah, it is. I am Rachel underscore Roche, Roche.
Brilliant. Well, we'll make sure people do, and hopefully they will. And I'd be really interested. I'll probably be searching up Pet Pact myself. But and again, it would be great to swing by another 6, 12 months and just see what the next stages are, how the new brand is coming on. But for now, thank you so much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you indeed.
Thank you.